evening, brothers and sisters. Good evening, All Saints West. Good evening, Buckleys. Good evening, St. Mary's South. Good evening, St. Paul's. And you know, I want to hear you. Good evening, All Saints East and St. Luke's. What a set to show you people. I love you all too. Brothers and sisters, I'm so happy to be here supporting all my colleagues, particularly Brother Chandler Codrington, a man of integrity, a man who is sincere, a man whom you can trust, and a man who has brought leadership to this constituency. I'm in a little bit of a teaching mood tonight. Teacher Sellis is fully in me tonight. Because, you know, as the days unfold, you can't help but hear the ignorance, the lies, the deceit, the misinformation, the miseducation, and the blatant disrespect for the people of Antigua and Barbuda by the Antigua Labour Party. These are all the things that their campaign is based on. But as we keep telling you, and I will remind you tonight, that leadership matters now more than ever. We gotta say that like a recitation. I want to tell those people who want to believe otherwise, and not anybody here, those within the listening and the hearing of my voice in the communities, those who are listening via the radio, I want to remind them that the Antigua Labour Party of yesterday is the same Labour Party of 1976, 1980, 84, 89, 94, 99, 2004, 2009, and now 2014. Very little has changed. What you've had is some change in candidates, but they following the same philosophy, the same red Kool-Aid they're drinking, except in 2014, the Kool-Aid is more deadly. It is more potent because the Antigua Labour Party is desperate. They are desperate, and they will stop at nothing. They will do anything to steal the will of the people as they exercised it in 2004, in 2009, and what they intend to do in 2014 by re-electing the United Progressive Party to continue the governance of this country. When I look at the Antigua Labour Party, I see them like a political tsunami. They destroy everything in their path. They disregard people, they discard them. And you only have to look inside of that organization. Look at what they did to Maureen Payne-Hyman. They thrush away. Look at what they did to Davin Joseph, particularly Gaston Brown, right here in All Saints West. They throw he away. And oh my, I think the worst is what they did to Gail Christian. Look at what they did to Gail Christian, a woman who was serving not only as minority leader, but a woman who held the post of chairman of the Antigua Labour Party. But that did not faze Gaston Brown, because his desperation was such that he literally just pick her up, he kick her like a football, and throw her into the Labour Party wilderness. And that is what he will do if the people of this country lose the key of their brain. But UPP people and Antigua people, they're not insane. we are saying. You understand? We're not gracing the halls of Clearview. We leave that for them. We leave that for them. I want to remind us that in 2003, after they had destroyed this country, when we were fighting to rescue this country, what did they say about us? They said none of us had any experience in government. They said we're going to take the country backwards, that we couldn't develop no new relationship with creditors or foreign countries. Gaston Brown himself said we couldn't last 6 months, and then we couldn't last a year. Then it was 2 years, and then it was 1 term. And the good people of Antigua and Barbuda said, Gaston Brown, Lester Bird, and the Labour Party, go away. And in 2009, they re-elected the United Progressive Party. And from all indicators, come 2014, we're going for a historic three-peat. Three-peat, brothers and sisters. I want to remind those people who seem to be, straying a little and shaking up and down, that what the United Progressive Party brought to this country in 2004 were fresh eyes, clear vision. We were undaunted by the task at hand. We had to reverse the reputation of Antigua and Barbuda from being the #1 country in the world famous for corruption. We had to build back the trust of the creditors in this country. But I want to remind us, and teacher likes to teach, is a kind of biggish word. The Antigua Labour Party is filled with what you call kleptomaniacs. I wonder if you all can say that. Kleptomaniacs. And a kleptomaniac is simply a thief. It's a big word for thief. The Antigua Labour Party is filled with men in particular who know how to thief good. And I want to remind those listening that it was Lester Bird who told them that nobody point no fingers at him. Y'all remember? Because all of them just as thief as he. He said so. You remember the famous cookie jar story? When they just have to leave the cookie jar like open, and like rat going after cheese. The representatives of the Antigua Labour Party dip in the hand. They rape. They raided. And they plundered every statutory corporation in Antigua and Barbuda. They didn't care about us. It was one of their ministers, Bernard Percival, who said that the medical benefit scheme had become a cesspool of corruption. Antigua people must never forget these things. Brothers and sisters, this election, more than any other, is about leadership. And I want to tell you that as fresh members of government, one thing we had a leader who had a vision for the development of this country. We had men and women who had a collective will and a confidence that together we could rebuild this country. We had, and we still have, people in this party who are patriots, who have sincerity of purpose, who have ambitions for every man, woman, boy, and girl, who believe in God, and who believe in an all-inclusive society. It was the Big Ten that kind of tried to destabilize his government because our Prime Minister had such a big heart. His heart is still big. He pitched a tent, and he said, all who want to come and help us to build Antigua and Barbuda, to rebuild this country, to help us bring back the pride, come under the tent. You had some opportunistic people. You had some of them pretending. And many of you in here, including me, them a quiz are we. Them a shove you. They elbowing you. But they didn't have no good heart. And we saw them in 2009. And I want to warn all of us. Brother Daniel spoke of it. Some of them gonna send me for you. But they're not for us. They are for self. And that is why they support the Antigua Labour Party. Brothers and sisters, I want to remind those who want to forget all that we have done for Antigua and Barbuda and will continue to do for the good people of Antigua and Barbuda. I want to tell you that when Brother Court was in the Ministry of Finance, when he had that task that was so big, some days we wonder how we going to do it. But you know what? He had the confidence that we could do it. He made some hard decisions, and we did it. Do you agree that we did it? We did what the Antigua Labour Party was afraid to do. But what was the right thing to do? Dr. Court, supported by all of us, he reintroduced the personal income tax. And you know, what you have to appreciate is that the revenues derived from that personal income tax was a critical part of the process that helped us to bring back our pride, helped us to pay creditors who had not been paid since the 1960s, 70s, 80s, and 90s by the Antigua Labour Party. It was the personal income tax when the global meltdown started that sustained this country and protected our social programs. We are not afraid to do the right thing in the right time in the interest of the people of Antigua and Barbuda. We are not afraid. We are not going to take no easy way out by fooling people. We believe in consulting people. How many consultations do you recall Dr. Court had? And other ministers? Because we say when we make a decision, it must be fully supported by the people. I want to fast forward and tell you that when you look at this ICT revolution, I want to tell you, the other day I was reading something that I totally agree with. And it said that in life, there are three great equalizers. Death is the principal one. Because my father used to say that no matter how you live in life, you could be the richest person, you could be the most needy person. When you're dead, everybody getting 4 by 6. All of us, it is equalizing everybody. I want to tell you, brothers and sisters, that in the 21st century, there are 2 equalizers. Those are ICT and education. Because ICT is the language of business. ICT is the face of the new economy. And technology is about leadership. What we are doing in ICT is ensuring that our young people, beginning at the very early age, are sufficiently equipped and knowledgeable to take advantage of opportunities which may arise anywhere in this world. You know about our social programs. We did it. We did it with school meals, with the uniforms, with the PDV cab. We did it with a wide range of initiatives that we took the time to carefully develop. I hear a bunch of foolish people, and I have to say they are foolish people, on the airwaves saying, all we can talk about is what we did. Nobody talking about new policy, what we're going to do. I want to educate those people tonight. And I want you to help me to educate them when you go out into the roads, into your workplaces and the churches. I want to tell them that national development is about the continuation and where necessary, the revision of broad policy objectives. When we started school meals, for example, we started with 9 pilot schools because we had a policy to ensure that the primary students in this country, we're starting there, every day in the public schools would be entitled to a hot, tasty, nutritious meal. That was then. So we did 9 schools. That don't mean we stop. That is a policy objective. And today, we have expanded that program to 23 schools. So if you want to hear about policy, that is the continuation of one such policy. Our broad education policy, when we opened up the public preschools in this country, that is a part of the broad educational policy objectives. When we equip teachers with laptop computers to help them with their classroom lessons. When we have ensured that tablets are made available to the school children in this country, that is the continuation of the broad educational policy objective of this administration. I want to just remind you of a few things. And I want to again challenge Gaston Brown and the Labour Party. When they're talking about that poverty in this country is what is causing criminal activity, I want to tell him, don't insult poor people in this country. I can't look out there to anybody. I don't care where you reach in life, including myself, that born with no silver spoon in your mouth. We don't come from that kind of history. There are those of us, many of us, certainly all of us present here tonight, whose parents and grandparents told us that through hard work, through Christian principles, through ambition and belief in yourself, you could pull up yourself by your bootstraps and make anything of yourself. That is why many of us have moved on in this life. Money doesn't make good men and women. A good value system does. I want to give you an example in my own family. I'm only going to look back at my grandparents. I had a grandmother, my mother's mother, born poor, worked all of her life as a cook in Millreef. She used to say she had to walk from Seaton to Millreef, going through Collins before any asphalt road was there. But what? She believed that through hard work, she could pull herself up and her child, and she did it. My father's mother was a CBH worker. I don't know how many of you remember those days when the women used to be at the side of the street with the men, cooking in the tin pan, the cheese pan, the New Zealand butter tin. Whether they're making tea, whether whatever they're cooking, while they're cleaning up the rubbish off the road. That is my paternal grandmother. That is the poverty that they came from. She never thieved nothing. My father never thieved nothing. His siblings never thieved nothing, as poor as they were. And I can speak for my brothers and sisters and my children that we don't raise them to be covetous. We're coming out of poverty. So Gaston Brown, stop insulting poor people in Antigua and Barbuda. Some of the best people I know in this country come from very humble beginnings. I want to say one last thing as I close. I want to tell you, I want to share with you, brothers and sisters, the fact that we cannot surrender our country to the likes of Gaston Brown and Asset Michael. We cannot entrust our leaders to not one of them, and I'm going to call them one by one. We cannot trust our country to Malwin Joseph. And neither must we forget that Rolls-Royce scandal. That is the epitome of dishonesty, brothers and sisters. We cannot forget Steadroy Cutie Benjamin and that passport scandal with Linda Brand and her son. He don't see the gates of 1735 yet, and they spent 2 years in jail. That is dishonesty. We cannot entrust this nation again to Robin Yearwood. Because really and truly, when you hear the kind of money that the court awarded Robin's ex-wife, where he get that on a government minister's salary? Where did he get all the money? And I want to suggest to you that it didn't come from no government minister's salary. We cannot trust Robin Yearwood neither. And we definitely not trusting Lester Bird. When you listen to those tapes of Asset Michael, how can the people of rural East or the people of Antigua and Barbuda trust Lester Bird? I said the last time and I'm going to say it again. Outside of that kind of dishonesty, I have never heard, and I believe I can bet one of my hand, that I'm never going to hear any scandal involving any little girl, any underage child with Winston Baldwin Spencer. It never happen. We are not going to entrust this country to Chandler's opponent. Because, as I said the last time, when you lie down with dog, you're going to rise up with flea. And any good, decent Antiguan and Barbudan who wants to make a meaningful contribution to nation building cannot and will never associate themselves with the Antigua Labour Party as presently constituted. So we can't trust him either. When you look at my opponent, the people in All Saints, East and St. Luke know what I'm talking about. Right? I am not going to go down that road. But you know what you know what I'm talking about. Right? Anytime I've had to raise funds for anybody, whether it is any community group, any sporting association, any church group, what I raise, I give it to them. And that is all I'm going to say about that. Brothers and sisters, the last thing about Gaston Brown is that Gaston Brown is nothing but an opportunistic person. He shoot from his hip. Anytime he hear anything, anything, he can say it to fool people, he says it. For example, just last week, when that Privy Council decision came down, the first thing out of Gaston Brown mouth, I show is he called the media. He said, well, the Antigua Labour Party, as the government, we already have the money to pay Miss Gerard. If Brother Harold Lovell is taking a reasonable approach, he's the Minister of Finance, and he cannot come out and say, well, listen, Miss Gerard will get her money at the end of June or whatever. How Gaston Brown in opposition, who has no idea of the state of the economy based on how he speaks, how he going to promise Miss Gerard that she's going to have her money? On the Gaston Brown, when you listen to him, everything is rosy. And I want to tell you that Gaston Brown never held any senior position as a minister of government in the Antigua Labour Party administration. Gaston Brown merely wants to give the impression that he knows. But there's a saying that he who knows not that he knows not. What is he? A fool. We have a good thing going here. We cannot afford to let this country fall into the wrong hands, brothers and sisters. Leadership matters now more than ever. People of All Saints West, Brother Chandler Codrington, all the way. People of St. Paul, Brother Ellison Namba Adams, all the way. And people of St. Mary's South, there's no other choice but Brother Hilson, Brother B. Baptist, and All Saints Luce and St. Luke. Is who you want. Who you want. I am here for you. Come 2014, on election day, the United Progressive Party, under the leadership of Winston Baldwin Spencer, is the only choice. Three peats. Let's go on to victory. Victory for the people of Antigua and Barbuda by the United Progressive Party. I love all of you. See you next time. Be strong, be vigilant, cause I am on fire.